Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call our meeting to order for a budget workshop. Please stand if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're going to, good evening. Let's start at the 57, the book.
What?
57.
All right, let's get right started. Tom, welcome.
Hi.
That's what- 5 seconds behind, right? What page are we on, Tom?
57.
All right. Everyone's on 57. I'm there.
Okay.
All right, continue on.
This is the, we're starting now with the Public Works Director budget. This has in it the director and the assistant. Then, so one of the main things in this is the hazardous waste collection for the whole town. So this is dues. We have dues that cover the operating costs by the hazardous waste, household hazardous waste program. We are part of the lower river COGS program. And then we also, when those programs are run, so there's a fee that we have to pay to be part of it, and then there's fees that we have to pay per the residents that what they bring in. During this year, the River COG had a 30% increase in their disposal costs in their bid going out. They are going to subsidize some of the fiscal 26 and the fiscal 27 with some of their funds. They had told us to go up about 15%. I think we put in around 12.5 based on where we anticipated we were going to be. So that's what's in this budget. Budget, page 59 is the highway budget. So the highway budget is made up of our highway personnel. Has their overtime for non-snow removal. Service contracts have things like first aid kits, fire extinguishers, fuel management system softwares, HVAC, generator service contracts, as well as others. One of the other areas that we're seeing an increase is the stormwater monitoring. That is the MS4 requirements continue to be strong. There continue to be requirements all over the board there that the Public Works team has to work on. Conference meetings and dues has a requested increase in this as well this year. We're trying to send a few of the gentlemen to the tree warden training, as well as there's a forklift and some backhoe safety training programs, aerial bucket truck safety of training that they're requesting. Equipment rental is just an item that continues to repairs and rental. This is something we see increases everywhere on everything we try to accomplish. Electricity, we spoke on that before. We have the electricity outstanding. The contract, we had a contract for the NG for multiple years, pre-COVID, post-COVID went to bid, and the new contract is there. It's a good contract still, but just higher than we had the 4 years ago. Heating fuel, propane costs continue to be high-ish. So we have some monies requested there. And raw materials are raw materials for the town for what they work on. So it's a 3.89% increase.
Tom, hold on for 1 second. Board members, so if you have questions as we hit each topic, hit them then instead of saving it for the end. So if any questions are up, everyone good with this particular budget?
Okay. Page 61 is vehicle maintenance. Vehicle maintenance has 2 personnel within that budget. There you see an increase here in the overtime line item. Some of that was in anticipation to attempt to perform some of the undercoating on certain vehicles within the town. There would have been upwards of over another 3 to possibly more money to do all the vehicles. So they want to see what they can accomplish with the amount that they put there within a somewhat reasonable increase in the overtime, and then work through that process. That's really the change in that budget.
So I have a question. So why does it have to be done on overtime?
You want to speak to that, Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
The reason we perform the undercoating on overtime is just because it takes 2 or 3 hours to do, possibly 4 hours. That would be time that we would not be able to fix vital equipment. You know, we're not gonna undercoat a vehicle to not fix a dump truck or a loader or any other vehicle for the frontline system. So we do it on overtime just as preventative maintenance.
Thank you. So that's really more or less the changes to that budget. Budget 63 is the town engineer budget. This is our town engineer, Jacobson is our town engineer. There are many tasks that are performed annually. The main increase in this year is a MS4 requirement that's coming down. They're saying that there's dry weather sampling that needs to be included, plus labs sampling of outfalls that discharge to impaired water, and that's additional labs required for that. And there's also mapping of storm sewer in the urbanized area for watersheds. Estimated around $15,000 between the two line items. We're trying to accomplish that. You see that as an increase into 38005 for 6, and then 38006 for 5, and then Jason's going to try to accomplish the remainder within that number. So that's why there's such a large increase. It's specifically to that new requirements that are out there.
So I have another question, Tom. And I wrote this, so I gotta make sure that I understand the context of what when I was reviewing this. So in this particular budget, you know, when you give us the monthly thing that you go over, there's like so much of the current budget remains there, like in this current year. Like, why is that? And this is up, you know, because it's what, 20% increase here, but if you go to the, you know, the budget thing that you give us on a monthly basis, much of the current budget remains. Is it because those things just aren't paid yet, or?
Yeah, it'll be things that weren't paid yet today, or there's items. So in this scenario here, like we were, there's a $15,000 increase of which we're only going
Right.
up 11. So he thinks he may be able to accomplish 4 of that within the line item that he already has in there. And then the remainder is are things that we continue to have. And as you can see, like the budget in the past 2 years, we've been at 68 and 63. So it's one of those budgets where we try to increase the budget because we spend the money. But this is actually for this specific reason. There were specific requirements that were new.
Mhm.
So we were asking for the new money, except for we thought we could try to accomplish maybe 4 within the money that we had already had. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Street lighting. So street lighting, we put up 4.8%. More or less, we're trying to figure out what the change in the supply. The change in the supply contract was about a 15% increase, but you know, we were doing pretty well within the 2025 number. So I try to base it off of that with an increase for the 2027 number. And hopefully we will hit within the mark there. But it's one of those ones where you got to pay for the service. And we've been doing pretty good with the LED lighting conversions that we had, but the change in the supply will be, it's a big number. Page 67 is the grounds maintenance budget. So the grounds maintenance department has the actual 4 employees that are our employees, and then there's a small percentage of that goes for the full-time supervisor's salary that's within the Board of Ed budget. And so that's how that budget's always been. The supervisor is in the Board of Ed budget. The employees are in the town budget. It's kind of a way to share the burden there for us in the department. And that's so you have the salary for that line item. Now their overtime does include their snow overtime. So this is regular overtime, snow overtime, any overtime that the grounds department goes into grounds. And then that was really there's not too many other changes within that. It's a slight increase in equipment, rental and repair. And then supplies for equipment supplies. They do a lot of their the in-house improvements, and they buy the equipment to make some of those improvements to their equipment, as well as just the actual supplies costs. As you can see, as we've had challenging times meeting that $8,000 number. So we had increased that by 2,000. Other than that, there's really no change in this budget.
Tom, I just have one question, just in general.
Sure.
What did we use for cost of living for this year?
We're in negotiations for that right now. So there's we have an estimate within the budget, but that's that's an item that hasn't been negotiated yet. But there's a 3-day accrual in there in all these budgets, because there's a possibly 3-day accrual. So you'll have that as well.
So the same group of guys, these 4 guys, they're basically doing the sports complex and, if you will, the fields at the high school.
They do all town buildings, all town buildings, all Board of Ed buildings, all fields, all parks and recs, anything that's grounds. They would do the work, and then me is the supervisor to that group, and he's paid on the Board of Ed side. The page 37 is the town building maintenance budget. Town building maintenance budget has 3 employees to it. There's been having challenging meeting with the overtime with related requirements to storms, and various needs to come in. Often it's for alarms and other any other need that would cause them to come in. Sometimes it's when some of the buildings or the parks need to be cleaned. So various needs that would cause them to come in. So we'd ask for a $1,500 increase here in the overtime line item. Service contracts going up slightly here. More or less HVAC is one of the main considerations. It's kind of like a lot of HVAC components through town. This also would have managed some first aid. It would fire extinguishers, fire alarms, some of the any type of service contracts, and some of the equipment related to those service contract repairs. Equipment rental and repair. There was a $2,000 ask here in this line item. Just again, it's repair costs continue to escalate. Anytime you call people in, it's a quite a bit higher number than it used to be.
So Tom, is there's a supervisor of this? It's not, Bob Shea has the schools, right? So
There's
what?
a lead, a person called a lead man,
Okay.
and that would be Dave Bukowski, and he gets a stipend to be the lead man, or he's a leader. There's a stipend that he is paid annually for that. And then building supplies is another area where we see increases. That's any type of supplies that they need to build, to do projects, to do any of the, more or less any of the maintenance that they're doing.
Tom.
Electricity, we've hit the electricity components.
Mhm.
And for the purchases, they've been trying to acquire a carpet cleaner for quite some time, and that's in that $4,000 to $5,000 range.
I just had a question. I know it did an increase from last year to this year, but this cell phone use like 2 years ago, and then you like doubled the
Yeah, so that's maybe whatever, shame on me a little bit, but there's people that fell off that. I didn't do a very good job of updating the people. I just recently did that. It was about a 2-year period where the people were gapped just with other things that I had going on. I didn't renew the contracts with them. So that happened. I think I renewed most of the people that were supposed to renew up in in January of this year. So
For the
that's
service of the cell phone.
that's gonna jump back up to the people that, you know, it's gonna jump up where it, you know, closer to where
Where
it
it-
should be.
The reality is that
Yeah,
then.
yeah, it's just, it's been
Mhm.
low for the past couple of years because we haven't been paying the cell phones that maybe we could have, should have, would have.
Okay,
So, Tom, just a question. So
Sure.
there's, you know, if we look at like some of these items, like there's building supplies, uniforms, pagers, telephones, cell phones, obviously pagers are gone. But is there, when that money gets spent, like at this line
Hmm.
item, there's someone on the Board of Ed really doing almost the same thing, right? For their spec, right? Or is it all, we don't have a shared services, if you will. Right, I mean, somebody's looking at, let's just pick on cell phones. There's somebody looking at cell phones for the town plans or as needed in the town. And then there's somebody else looking at it at the Board of Ed.
Board of Ed, I mean, in that scenario, Board of Ed doesn't have very many cell phones.
No, just
We
for
pay,
example.
so the person that's paid, the one cell phone that we do have for the Board of Ed is on our plan. That gets allocated to the Board of Ed, so it goes through I approve it, I manage it with the people, so yeah, it is.
Maybe
you
a
know,
bad example, but building supplies.
Well, I mean, they're different buildings, so I mean, they don't really correlate, you know what I mean? You have schools, all the different schools, and you have the town, so Jason runs the town side and Director of Buildings and Grounds, Shay runs the schools. So they're, you know, you have multiple schools that are doing things and you have the board, the town is doing things. So that's the answer to that.
Okay, just in general, it's like, if you look at some of these, and this is not you, right? Because you're just accounting for it, but it becomes, it's almost like there's duplicate activity. Maybe I picked the wrong example with a cell phone, but in general, right? It's almost like, you know, you got a home that's married filing joint, but yet, you know, the wife has the YouTube TV and the husband has Xfinity, you know, as opposed to everybody just having Xfinity.
Mhm.
Somebody
But there-
has a Verizon
Yeah.
plan, somebody has the AT&T plan, as opposed to a husband and a couple having a family plan. It's like, it just seems, and I realize that I'm not, it's just an
Oh, I
observation.
understand what you're saying, but there are you know, and it depends. I mean, there's some things that I'm sure there could be possible cost saving measures, but I mean, we do oversee. I mean, I approve many purchase orders for the Board of Ed, approved many for the town, and Mike approves all of the ones for the town and the board over $1,000. So we see what there's doing, and we see what we can do, and we do try to share contacts and agreements when we can. Sometimes the Board of Ed will get a much better price that they're only allowed to get because they're education. There's numerous things that we can't do because we're not education. They don't allow that. They don't allow us. They don't allow us to have the same rep. So we could have a rep at SHI for communications. There's a rep for the Board of Ed. There's a rep for the town. They won't really let us have the same rep. I'm asked to do that. There's some of them that will. There's some companies that do, and we do have that. We have some positive savings. But you know, if it's you know, there's certain things that are school, certain things are town. And then they have certain setups that are different. So they would maybe have CEN network. We might have Comcast. We might have CEN. They may have something else. So there's multiple different things. There's multiple different systems in place. So I mean, that's all I got really for
Okay.
that answer there. All right.
Fine. Thanks.
All right, that's what I got for town building maintenance. Snow removal. This was just, more or less, we just put a percent increase on this to try to move this needle. You know, it's one of the ones where it's the road material cost continues to go up, the salt continues to go up. And then clearly, you know, it's all dependent upon the year. You can have a year where we're at $60,000 and then we have a year like this year, we're in the 150s.
Mhm.
So, but we try to move it up at least like the cost of living plus you try to do it because most of the time when the guys are working, they're working overtime. So you try to do it either time and a half or, you know, you try to use some of that like double time and a half rate. So at least you try to do that on what you expect to increase in overtime. That's what we're trying to accomplish in this. on this task. So that's where you're seeing the 4.2%. I think that was a remainder of the items that in the general fund. We had hit all the other last cycle. So we're gonna go, probably best way to do it is to go through the expenses and then it can flip back to the revenue. So on the sewer department,
Okay,
that would be page 114,
114.
114.
Going down.
114.
All right, beautiful. All right, Tom.
Sure. So I mean, the sewer is made up, should have 3 main employees and then half of an employee. And then we have the related, insurance related and other benefit costs related to them. Service contracts is I think is like Bassett, it's some HVAC work, it's Hawk. And then there's about a $45,000 number that should be for, TVing of the lines. I think we've had 2 years now that we have not accomplished that. But again, we're not hitting the revenues, so it needs to be built into the budget, but it's, we haven't done that. So that's where you're seeing the differential there from expense to budget is about that difference. Trying to keep the remainder of the other costs fairly consistent to where we were. One that you'll see that we're going up quite a bit on is the electricity. And then some miscellaneous is related to permitting, so you'll see some increase in permitting. So some of that is the area, some of the areas, so you see a little bit in the medical insurance went up. You have the employees, and then otherwise not really changing too much in this. You're changing electricity and some of the medical costs, and then a few minor other changes. So that comes out to the 1.4 million expense, and then the revenue, some shortcomings in user service charges to come up with that, and as well as in a little bit in the interest and liens, trying to estimate there, and actuals coming closer to where the actuals were.
So the electricity, no, I know they're all up and I totally understand that. This one just seems, maybe it's just percentage wise or something. It seems like a bigger jump than any of the other ones.
Well, it looks like, as you can see in 24, when the supply changed, that really hurt us, right? The supply chain.
Yeah.
So we kind of missed that last year. We didn't catch that supply change
okay.
increase. And now you're putting so that the distribution costs, when they increased those distribution costs, we went up.
Yeah.
But we didn't catch that until in time. So we budgeted like 137, but we came in at 157. Now you're going up on the actual.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I didn't look back
Yeah,
how can you say that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was where I was like, oh,
I just looked at
Yeah.
the 137 to the 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's
Okay.
kind of the.
Yep.
We got hit both sides. You got hit on
Mm-hmm.
the ones that now are going to hit in the supply.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual distribution charge was last year. Now this year it's going to be the supply from NG is going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for the water is a page 117. So that will have the supervisor will be in there, and then there's two other employees, and then the halftime billing assistant with the related benefits associated there. Service contracts, we're just jumping there. It's a continual increase there. There's there's a lot to do with labs. Both of them have labs that are quite substantial.
Why is everybody else's medicals up, but theirs is down?
Yeah, it was, I guess, the people that got hired. That was an actual, but it was, I think we had maybe a 2-person in there or something, and then it was a single.
Oh, it changed.
Yeah. So. I could double check that, but I think it did. I think I checked that before because I was like, ooh, well, I went down. How about that?
Is the billing and the collections of the water and the sewer, is that in here, or is the person who administers that, is that the tax collector
No, there's the person that does that are in these two budgets,
right here?
50-50, 2 and
Okay.
3. So they're both, no, that person's split between the two. And then the tax office has just the tax collector. Okay. We have the water that we anticipate for the additional amount we need, a slight possible increase from MDC. Electricity, we're hoping we're gonna be able to stay within that number here. Water supplies, we're going up 7,000. That a lot of that are some of the supplies that are required for some of the galvanized lines, as well as just supply costs itself and any of the repair work that these guys do continues to go up. We have the bond component of the note that we have outstanding, and then the clean water debt is here. Then you have the capital. So that's a total of a 347.
Tom, how much longer do we have on that old bond for this?
The old one. Yes, those good questions each time. I don't ever remember to bring them. I don't have it.
Okay.
The top bond is fairly new. Obviously, it's in our second year. And then this one, you're right. That was, so we did those high street water mains. That would have been, I think you still got a good 10 or 15 on them, but I'll double check that. Similar issue here. Maybe even a more pronounced in the revenue side. We're hurt here a little bit on the meter sales, and then on the meter charges. I think of last year's budget, we had estimated a slight increase in that in those meter charges that hasn't gone out yet. And then meter sales is really the catch-all for to make up for the expenses. So as you can see there, there's quite a large disconnect between what was actual brought in and what is needed to come in. So I think that's something that the water will need to continue to review and then possibly consider. Page 127. 127 is our resource recovery facility. The miscellaneous component there, that's some rental that we do for one of the dumpsters for clothing. Some of the entity rents that out. We've had some challenges in getting revenues in on the sale of metal. So we did drop that down slightly, hoping to continue to get better collections in that. We have had some better pickups and this bags sales to the residents. So that's a positive. Bulky waste, we still we're hoping to get to that number. And then we have the transfer in. One of the things that we have on the capital for resource recovery are some additional funds for the containers. When we went to get the covers for those containers last year, with what we put in, the price changed and we weren't able to accomplish that. So we're asking for another $8,000 in efforts to try to get some of those covers for the containers, because I think we believe it's gonna help in what we're transferring out of the bulky waste. So we're trying to accomplish that. That's another challenging one where it seems like every time we go back to get the updated price, it goes up. So, keep working that, but we need to get the additional funding to be able to purchase those items. So the payroll is made up of the two employees. They work here. The overtime is for them or for others that may have to cover when they're out, not at work. Service contracts is the majority of this is related to the grinding. We charge the brush grinding in the service contracts. That's what the majority of the cost of that. There's also contracts for some of the software that we have and some of the maintenance agreements that we need for the containers and the compactors. Bulky waste rate, the rate is going up for this year that we're gonna have to pay on the distribution out. So we bump that just to kind of go with an increase in the percentage, the dollar value increase there. 788, I mean, you got the $4,000 bump there in the capital. So I mean, that's kind of helping driving that as well as some of that with the medical, but it's you know, the actual 4,000 for the capital is helping driving that up a little bit there. Building maintenance, this is a fund that we have. It's a very helpful fund. We put 41,000 in a year between the town and the board, and each of us get a 41,000. We're able to, you know, accomplish projects that are just a little bit, you know, generally they're more complex than building than just normal repairs, but you know, they can be for usual repairs once we expend our global budget for building repairs. But those are important things that we can accomplish to get some projects done. So that's a very helpful matter. There is something we put in yearly.
Where you going? What was the big expense in 24?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
That was 232.
I believe it was a component of the roof. There was parts of the roof. There was HVAC component of the roof replacement at at town hall. So that was a component of it. And there was the project we did with Hemlock. This is on the 24-25 you're asking?
Yeah.
It's not coming to me right now. Let me think on that. Yeah, I mean, there was some of the roofing was done in one out of the capital plan, and then some of it was done out of Fund 11. I know that was some of that. So that was probably a good part of it was the chimney. Page 132 is the Parks and Rec program. Definitely been making some improvements within the program, kind of growing, getting back revenue. It was a challenge after the COVID era. It keep working toward growing that. So we had some positive growth last year and continue to strive to to get some positive growth again. Payroll is will be made up of the director, the assistant. Temporary payroll is for the Kids Blast program. Recreational payroll is for all the other recreational programs throughout the year. Those are the associated costs. Service contracts mostly is the software for the licensing and service for the contract for the software, as well as some additional software for uh, checking, doing background checks and related components for that for, you know, for the various programs in place. Some of the changes within the programmatic, there was increases, and where there was kind of changes within the revenue stream, we had to kind of go up in certain areas where we went up a little bit in revenue, we had to go up a little bit in the expenses, or if we went up in the expenses, we tried to go up a little bit in the revenue side to help on that. That was a 399. Teen payroll continues to go up every time they increase the minimum wage. It's hard because it jumps these you know, we have the scale, and like it usually knocks the first three people out of the scale, and then you gotta jump the scale. You gotta keep jumping the scale. So that has been a challenge. I see that I know you see that every time when we reapprove the payroll plan. I see, you know, you see the number, and then, you know, in January, you'll say, oh, well, they're going at these three numbers and they're up here because of that, the jump in the minimum wage. All right, page 135. So we have capital. So we, like I said to you the last time, we try to keep the capital close to where we were last year in twofold. One was because we did that because debt had gone down. So when you lower debt, you try to keep capital up. You try to do it like it was a 1-to-1 so that you don't build operations off of debt reduction. Because at some point you're going to turn around and add the debt back, and now you've built your operations up, and you've lowered. If you did that and you lower capital at the same time, then you know you're building additional problems. So that was the attempt. And then I know there's a question out there for they're going to go out for the Board of Ed. So I think that was another reason we had tried to keep it consistent there. So the Board of Ed had some food service needs that they do, and they're twofold. It's some of it is equipment that's needed, and it's also kind of per the agreement with Sodexo. They're supposed to put about 12,000 in a year, which I know last year they did not. So that's you know, kind of part of that, as well as there's equipment specific needs. The townwide upgrade for technology, they need the new the hotspots within the schools. Those technological spots for their Wi-Fi. It's one of the big drivers of how they do the education. They're getting aged, and they need to be able to do a replacement on those items. So that's the Board of Ed at 157,000. The town, the fire department, you know, requested a ATV replacement for the forest and suppression. One of the ATVs that they have now is getting aged, and you know, it's costly to repair, and they do need that for various rescues. Two of the buildings definitely have older generators, company 1 and company 2. They're going to try to replace one of the ones this cycle, and then hopefully do another one in the next cycle or soon thereafter. But that's a definitely need there. Grounds maintenance needs an infield groomer. This is for all the various ball fields that you have. This is a required piece of equipment that helps take care of the infields that you have. Website redesign. Their library has very active within their website, and their specific items that are to help with compliance that are out there that they need to do a redesign of their website. Police continue to try to help replace vehicles, and we definitely have a shortage of vehicles within our our town fleet. Some of the vehicles we have are very aged on the town side, as well as some of the vehicles that we have from the police are getting tired. So we did buy some last cycle. We're going to ask for another one this cycle. Hopefully, we'll be able to pass another vehicle down to get rid of some of the older vehicles that we're driving in our town fleet. For their security upgrade, they needed to have an improvement for the keyless entry within the building here at the Buck Foreman building. So they had need that component, as well as cameras and recorders within the interior of the building needed to be replaced. And that's kind of part of their the continuation of the certification program. And the DPW, the vehicle that the director was driving needs to be replaced. There's numerous HVAC upgrades. And this one here was a 36,000. That was, I believe, specifically the intent is for the highway garage, right? And then the town highway garage parking lot needed to be seal coated. And then there's where we store our liquid storage tanks. Where we have them right now is not really the best location, as it's near our aquifer protection zone. So those need to get relocated, and then with that, you need a bigger container. Is the people that deliver that type of substance want to deliver it to at once in a larger facility. So to try to keep the cost down of the deliveries and be able to get the substance, we need to get a larger tanks there as well, and to get that out of the zone where it shouldn't be per se. Townwide computers. This is the year for the appliances that we need to get for our backup solution. So every 4 years, it's a pretty substantial cost. Usually, I think those are in the 75 to 80,000 range. And then we have the normal item, the normal amounts for computers that we have to have in play. But those are, until we get the negotiation on those, it's hard to know exactly what that cost will be. And it's also based on the amount of storage space that we need. And if we start, it seems like as we continually store, it gets to be a bigger number as more things become electronic and stored that way.
Tom, is that a combination of on-site and cloud storage?
Yes, that is a combination of on-site and cloud storage. Correct, Peter?
Well, correct.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Not to add money to this, but did we ever address the fire suppression in town clerk and account?
So that has been,
That was something that to me was just.
so the money was put in place for this year, but it's been we're continually working through that with the vendor that we had initially thought we were going to use our normal vendor. There are challenges with the solution, and we weren't able to get like a further the people that are in place and helping run this are trying to get that updated quote, that updated value. And at the time we went out to budget, we didn't know if it was going to be higher or not. So we didn't put more in because we were so unclear of that. We thought we had this nailed down. And then there was some complications into the process flow that we had. And I know that the fire marshal, the public works director, the town clerk, all these parties that be there, all working this process. Because I know we considered to add to it because we had the number that we have there, but we're not sure if that was meeting our objective. And then there was complications when we tried to accomplish the task. So there is a possibility that at some point, we may have to come back and ask for more money on that project, but I don't think we're at the point of knowing that number.
So if they did, so I get it, right? I mean, the party was starting, they weren't here, right, with the solid plan, if you will, to go forward, right, sounds like. some
We put the money in for
technical
last year's
reason.
budget. We put it in last year's budget, so we thought we had the plan all set up.
Right,
But when they went to continue the discussions, there were complications to the plan.
and the only reason I know about that item is I was actually on the long-term capital at that point, and it was, to me, it sounded like something that we absolutely had to do. So if they do get their, if it does become solid and they do have a solid plan, I do understand a little bit of the technical issues that they're dealing with, but
I could,
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
yeah, right. We can't put sprinkler heads there,
No,
Yeah.
that's the point,
you
right?
know?
should have been taken care of 50 years ago.
But just from a procedure, if we have this amount of money in our capital and we're now approaching month 7, 8, 9, and somebody doesn't spend it, can we reappropriate? Is that within us? I'm talking to the selectmen, or
So-
Tom, maybe you can.
No,
answer
I
that.
mean, normally things don't lapse for at least 5 years. So because there's many reasons why you don't spend money that's in capital, and capital is not supposed to be meant to be spent immediately. It's meant to be meant to drive a project. You know what I mean? You create it. There's many years where you do not cut it or leave it because you may grow a project. So generally you wouldn't do that. You would probably ask them to accomplish the task if it's able to be accomplished. And that's how we would go. We probably wouldn't cancel it. If they didn't accomplish anything in the 5 years, then in theory, we could lapse. But this is what the money that was allocated last year was year one. So, but what we didn't want to do is obviously you don't want to rush somebody to do something that's a bad solution or you
No,
pay for
for
something that's a
sure.
bad solution. So we don't want to do, that's definitely not what we're looking to do there. We have the money, we had money set aside that we thought was the number. And then when the guys went to button it up, things didn't happen the way they wanted to. And Ray can talk to that matter.
So after that project was funded last year in the fall, we started looking at two options. One is obviously staying with the sprinkler system. The second one would have been a dry chemical system, which is a total flood system. Unfortunately, that price got crazy because what we would have to do is try to basically seal off the whole vault to allow that system to obviously work the way it's supposed to by total flood the room with a chemical fog that obviously would douse the fire. So that came into a bunch of problems. We got pricing on how to seal the vault door. Okay, because don't forget the vault door, but then we would have to have another door to seal that. And with the way the design is right now with the clerk's window and another window to put another vestibule outside there, it was just going to be too much money. So we finally got a price from our service provider for sprinklers. And Jason and I have been working with a couple other vendors. The first price came in, and what happened was that we thought they were going to be replacing the entire pipe system. If we're going to do this, let's just do it right. We're talking 100 feet of pipe, maybe 200 at most. So then we were told that price didn't include new pipe. We were going to use the existing. So then we had another couple vendors come in, probably 3 months ago now, Jason, somewhere around there. 2 other vendors came in, told us they'd have a price in 2 weeks for us. We've got nothing. So, so right now we're still trying to just work this out with what we can and actually make sure that we're getting the proper, system along with a price. The driving force behind some of the issues is that we're going to be going with a pre-action system, which means the system doesn't go off automatically. Okay. Once the sprinkler head fuses or defuses, right? So there's a double system in place here where it's going to take 1 smoke detector, 2 smoke detectors. Then it would release the system for water to flood obviously the area. So that requires a cabinet outside of the sprinkler system that's all run electronically and with the fire alarm. So to put that in the existing furnace room is complicated because they come in as a cabinet single unit. So now we have to break that apart to fit it in our space in the furnace room because we just don't have enough room there. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, and that's why it's not finished to date, but we're still working, on trying to get, these prices dialed in, and it would be the time to do it now because we have to drain the systems and do everything, and that's something we didn't want to do in the winter either. So so hopefully we'll have an answer for that. And the issue is that the one number we have is very close to have very little contingency if we go with that service provider. So that's why we're just trying to maybe get a couple more options out there for price. So, but we're working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
I don't remember where I was. Townwide, a revaluation. We did issue, I believe we issued the contract for the revaluation. That had used up the grand majority of our funds. And there are possible things that may also come up additionally with revaluation. And then also we do, in the revaluation number, we do often cover the lawsuits associated with the revaluation. So we need to have funds in there for these additional items. So there is definitely a need for this $50,000 for we have to build the money in there. So once you do the revaluation, almost immediately suits therefore come. And we have to have the money in place for that. Townwide, the phone systems, another project that we can keep working through this. Some of the quote money that we had gotten had come back higher. We're trying to get this accomplished. Thinking that generally this would be where we would do I think it was the high school, middle school complex would be this component, and then we would also then lead into our side. But that's so we have the phone systems that we're asking here for another $100,000 for that.
No, Tom, sorry,
That-
is that this going over to SIP trunking now? I know we had talked about that.
It would rely on it.
You want him to come up there?
Yeah,
Say- yeah, come on. I'm sure there's people interested at home.
Yeah, well, we were talking about, if you go to that trunking, we had some problems with when the high school went down. And there's ways that we can do that and especially potentially use our dark fiber network. Our interconnectivity to provide some backup.
Yep.
So that we don't have the schools go completely dark, so.
Peter Lipka, Director of Technology. Yes, SIP trunking is an option to use to transmit your phone calls from within the building to your external, either callers or recipients. There's a number of options for SIP trunking. Could be a dedicated fiber line directly into, say, Frontier's communication center. And then there's other things that are called SIP trunks, act similar in that, but they don't go to Frontier's communication center. They would go over the internet connection to someone else's data center where they will manage the packets and ensure they get from caller to receiver in a timely fashion. So it sounds like the same experience you've always had with a telephone system. So with that said, we are going to investigate what options for resiliency and redundancy do we have? And there's a number of ways you can do it, and we're going to investigate them all, come up with an analysis of how can we get the best resiliency at the best cost. So those information gathering and studying is underway. It's not completed yet, but we are working feverishly on it. In fact, I've had a number of meetings just within the past week on this topic. So yes, SIP trunk will be our primary mode of telephone communication moving forward.
So we're gonna be eliminating the on-prem system.
Not necessarily. We do not know yet. There are a number of options on the table, a hybrid on-prem,
yeah.
which would also rely on a SIP trunk to get
Okay.
out, and failover connection to, say, a Frontier data center.
Yeah.
In the event that the on-prem system goes down temporarily until parts can be provided, we would be able to administer and manage calls so that people could still get them on their cell phone. They wouldn't get them within the building, for example, because it's down, but they could be automatically forwarded to another telephone number.
So is the price that you're putting together, is that price going to include replacing whatever on unit you're going to be putting in? Or is that you're going to use the existing one?
It would be a complete replacement
Yeah,
with a new system, with with service, a full service agreement.
okay.
We can't get service for the equipment we have at this
No,
point. That's the biggest risk we face, and that's why this is so urgent. If what we have stops working,
we're dead.
we're scrambling, and then you have to make a decision quickly. And quick decisions, it's just you reduce the chance you're making the best decision. So we're doing everything we can to get the information we need to make the best decision. And we're learning. And Jim's been very helpful.
Great.
Okay.
So Tom said this is only for the school side. This doesn't improve anything on the town side.
So we're going to start with the schools. That's our biggest need. That's our biggest risk. It's the most likely place where our existing system will fail. However, once we have it in place, we can leverage it for emergency utilization. We can expand that quickly if we had to, if the other system that is located based in town were to go down. So it is only meant to serve the high school and middle school facility at this time, but the design we're doing is going to be expandable, and it will be expandable at the rate we can afford. So
You're requesting the funds for anything town-wide.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yes. Sorry, new to this.
There's ability to have a savings. Where it, or do you switch something down, you would. Could be hurt. But it's hard to get fast.
Yeah, and it unfortunately, it's more expensive than the preliminary estimates projected it to be, and so we have to come and ask for more money for that. Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Then so on the remainder of this page, we have the low SIP projects. 30,000 for the Parks and Rec we're requesting. And then 67,500 for overhead doors, various buildings. Those look like they're going to be some overhead doors at the highway garage. And then it doesn't seem like there'd be too much more left over. If there was, then it'll be things like at some of the fire companies, but that's
How many
that.
doors are you planning for that, Tom?
Say again,
How many doors planned for that?
Jason?
All this road on the whole side of the highway.
And what would the parking rec?
For the garage doors was 15? Was it?
I think the Parks and Rec is paving at Middlesex.
Well,
the-
Parks and Rec Parks and Rec has numerous projects.
Yeah.
So this right here is just, so we've always, out of the allotment for LoSiP, we continually add 30,000 every year. That's kind of what our kind of town thing is we do. And then from there, we would, they would, once they get the project, then they would try to come up with the project to do with the project of they have numerous projects here. They would do the best ones, but some of the ones that, to your point, that are approved recently by LoSiP, one was the parking lot at the Middlesex Avenue, and one was the entranceway into the Riverfront Park. And some of those were utilizing the old funds, and then now LoSiP kind of switched to a newer method, and some of that will be the new method. So working our way through those process changes, but that's and then sometimes they give you a number and then they give you an additional number, so that's a challenge as well. We'll have to either come back with an additional number at some point, or work. Sometimes I try to adjust it when I'm doing the budget if I know the number changed. This was what the governor's estimate was when we did it here. So the remainder of the lines show the plan. There's a few other areas that I didn't tell you what they were, and I will find those pages. Page 141. So the sewer plant requested funds in their budget. Oh, sorry, let me go back one. Page 140, resource recovery requested $8,000 in their budget. And that was to replace covers and tarps containers. And more or less, that's going to be for the covers, the covers for the containers. Because they're replacing the container that purchase order is issued. It's just they don't have enough money for the covers. They would love more money for containers too, but I mean, there's not only have so much money. Sewer
Tom, do we
department,
use the money from the state for the NIP deposit for this?
not for the covers, I don't believe. I don't believe so, no. All right. The sewer, we have used that for like waste buckets on Main Street. You know, the kind of the designer ones or the bigger ones that are out there on Main Street.
Yeah.
It's more like it's kind of like for littering. And so you can do it to clean, you can do it to buy equipment such as cleaners, like the big
Street sweeper.
street sweeper and the related brooms, things like that. You can definitely do. So the sewer plant, they had requested $380,000, 360 going into the plant and system improvements, 20,000 for additional SCADA funds. And then on the water, it was 20,000 for facility improvements, which they definitely always need more than that. 130,000 for galvanized lines replacement, 25,000 for the remeters, and then 75,000, very important one, for the reservoir dam. Got to get that those repairs completed. It's been about 2 to 3 years now attempting to get enough funding for that. So hopefully this one will get us over the cliff here where we can get that get those dam improvements completed, so that you know, that'll help us be in more compliance with our evaluation that's done and required. That's what I got for you guys.
Right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you guys.
Any other questions for Tom? Unanswered ones from other areas? No. Andy, I do have a question for you. Go ahead, come up real quick. With the 30,000 and like, what's the next project that you would want to see?
So the Parks and Rec Commission is gonna next couple of months here do a subcommittee to reevaluate our capital improvement needs, so that we're gonna have a more up-to-date priority list. Some things though are over at Bransfield Park, the outfield fence is falling down. That parking lot should be repaved. There's, you know, potential for projects like irrigation at Middlesex Ave. The nice thing about LoSiP is, as long as the state approves it as a general park improvement, they'll end up reimbursing the town. So the short answer is the commission and I are going to be getting a new priority list for those projects, but some of the ones I just mentioned are definitely on the radar.
Okay. And while you're up there, can you give us just kind of a quick overview on the budget you have, some highlights maybe that we should be aware of? I know your revenues increased, but anything you think not only us, but people at home are watching, because I know you do a lot there, and I don't think most people know a lot that you do.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So I will say, when I first took over, the Parks and Rec budget was negative 34,000. Last fiscal year, it was in the black about 20,000, and we're on track to continue to grow. We're seeing registration numbers increase substantially for our programs. You know, programs like the Kids Blast After School program, that was negative when I took over. Right now it's profitable again. And we're seeing that trend as well with some requests. So, I mean, long story short, the programs are generating revenue, fulfilling essential needs for the town. The big challenge is, like Tom mentioned, the minimum wage increases for our department. It makes that,
teen rec payroll line item kind of challenging, but we make sure that we keep on top of it.
If you had to look in the future for the next year or two, what are the programs that you see the most growth in, and what can we as a board, if we could fund extra dollars to, or if we could support you, what would be the things that would grow the revenue and make it more, profit driven?
I think dedicated space for Parks and Rec would be nice to generate revenue. I know there's a lot of plans that need to be figured out as far as the school consolidation plan, what to do with biz. But I mean, the short answer is if we have more space for programs, we can run more programs. And our programs are profitable now and also affordable for residents. So that would be my main thing. I know we've had challenges. The schools are great. They're great to work with. Bob Shea always makes it easy for us to get into schools, but there's times when, we have, reserved a certain space and we're told you can't use it anymore. So that kind of makes it challenging. So if we have a dedicated spot for Parks and Rec, the possibilities are endless.
Okay. Right. Anyone have any questions for Andrew? Either about his budget number or anything else?
So he's getting like 45% of his
Mhm.
through fees. I mean, we don't want to fee our
No, of course.
residents to death, but 45% of your budget
Mhm.
is coming from fees.
Mhm.
And then we're dropping in the other 300.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate all you do.
Thanks.
Mike, I just wanted to do I wanted to just say out loud, I remember I handed out that information that Bob had asked for last time about the van collections. So just going over the past couple of years here, it was in 23, we got about 4,825 in van collections. 24, about 4,420, and 25 was 4,575. As you can see in 25, we but the Pacifica, we did have a grant of 25,135 from ARPA funds that helped do that. So the outlay there was around the 47,911 for the Pacifica, of which we had the $25,000 grant. The difference was covered by the funds that were there. It was about a 33,000 remains. We looked a little bit at that. It was looked like the buses, they jumped up with about like we like about 120,000-ish now.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
they used to be quite a bit lower than that, but after COVID, the prices on those went way up. So, and then you gotta, I think it looked like when we look back at the older grants, there was about a 20 or so thousand match. So kind of like what you kind of got there is sort of like if you went for a new bus that was per the grant, you might have the match if they were able to win the award, but you got to win the grant. So that would be something that Mike and Sarah would work on in time, but that would be the big bus if you were trying to do that. So if you have it, you don't have enough money to purchase a Pacifica, and then if you did do that anyway, you would utilize all the funds that are there. So the next time if you had to try to buy a bus. So I wanted to just share that because you'd asked me to. And then on the property rental, last year's property rental income was 485,108.50. The Brownstone Exploration Park was 346,790 of that. Oak Hill was 92,741. The 47 Main LLC, because it was only a few months of the year, was 5,033.3. Mercy was about 5,500. And then the various others were around the 34,000 mark. And some people wanted to know a little bit about the fluctuations of brownstone exploration. So just wanted to share the past few years there. 24 was around 384,000, 23 around 305,000, 22 around 309, 21 was 295, 20 was around 408, and then 19 was around 395. So haven't got to the pre-COVID years yet, but 24 got close, and then 25 dropped off a little bit. So just wanted to share that information so you guys had it. And, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank
Thank you, Vince. I see we have a captain here, the policeman, wants up a fire captain. Scott, would you mind going up there, just a quick discussion about your department? It is page 50 and 51.
Good evening, Scott Cunningham, Portland Police.
Just give just a quick highlight of the department, just a quick highlight of your department up to now, and maybe some of the changes you expect next year.
Or
Went through the budget, but
essentially with this budget we're submitting, we're kind of hoping to maintain what we have.
Mhm.
Be quite honest with you. If you look at the line items, I mean, there's a big jump in that licensing software. It's like 36% jump up. Most of that is because our body cameras and our in-car recording systems, the licensing has expired. So now we have to pay $200 per device to keep that going. And then we also had additions for the cloud system for the recourse system. So that and along with the 5% on every other software package that we have that they decide to bump up on us. That's really where that went. There's nothing special to buy in that particular package. As I go through the rest of the budget, it's really just a maintenance budget. On the capital side, Bobby, last year you asked for the car stuff. So I did print some out. I made copies for everybody. If you don't mind passing them down, Jim. Okay. So it is the list of our vehicle fleet. On the left-hand side has the total miles for the vehicle. Highlighted in red are the idle hours on the cars. And then it's just, the rest of it's all vehicle information itself, year of the car, VIN number, make of the car, things of that nature. So why don't you peruse through that? If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them. I just didn't put the new vehicle information on there. You know, you have about 6 months of road mileage on them right now, which is probably in the 5,000 mile mark area. You notice 3/4 of the way of the page down on the page. There was a new engine put in that one particular Ford or Dodge Durango, the 2020 at 15,000. That was under warranty. So there's only 15,000 on that particular car right now, even though the odometer reads 63. 2020s, for some reason, there's something special about them. I cannot get the idle hours off of the settings. And it is a general rule. You're talking 10 to 12,000 a year per car, which is why, I mean, we're looking at right now probably 18 months out before we get a car on the road, if we were to order one. No, I'm sorry, 6 to 8 months. So if we get a new car, you're going to look at 6,000 miles on our oldest car that's on this fleet right now, edition. And the oldest one, or the most used one, is the one that would be removed and passed down to the town. But if we wait another year, then you're going to look at, you're looking at 15 to 18,000 on a car.
do you have any vehicles that have not been delivered and put into service yet?
No, all the new cars are in service. You can see that they're all marked new car. There were 3 of them, including the K9 car that's now out there. Mike Vervicki did a terrific job. He was able to get a lot of the items for his rear, the K9 car, and the heat system, the whole unit donated to him as a demo so that he could give a write-up and advise the company improvements they may need on the company, on the equipment itself. So it saved us a lot of money right there.
Which ones of these are your spares right now?
On the backside, Bob,
Those are all the spares.
those are usually spares, okay?
Okay.
One of them, I think the middle one, I think might be in use. All right, so the spare may be on the other side. But as a general rule, those are the spares on the back.
Are the spares the ones you usually earmark to hand down?
Correct. One of those. Yep. With the exception of the K9 car. That's not going to go regardless. We'll keep that. And that should be the Dodge. I don't think it's marked on here. The top one, Dodge Durango. That's the K9 spare.
As you see, puts a lot more miles on his car just for training purposes. His training's down in Brantford twice a month. So, and he generally takes his car more often than most guys because he likes to have the dog with him should he get a call.
Thanks, Scott.
Sure. Anything else?
Body cameras, you guys have had it for a while now. That has.
Well,
program
so we're
through?
going into year 4.
Mhm.
Body cameras, as a rule, I talked to Roseanne Mayo, she's our rep. They usually last 5 years or so, 5+ years. So I mean, that's, if you look at the capital in years to come, there's a big bump. I think it might be next year we're requesting.
Mhm.
That's the replacement of body cameras and in-car recording systems.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, we got a real smart guy in our fleet, much smarter than me. One of our new guys, Donald Scranton, he's been working on some grants and he just applied for a grant for body cameras, which would come through next year, but it's good for, I think, 12 months if we get it. So we started filling out, he started actually took it upon himself, started doing some grants for us, and hopefully some of these will come through.
Good.
Now, is the software for, is that gonna stay the same for the newer cameras for redacted?
It depends. We're gonna have to check. Right now, we have everything's on a server for us, so we won't lose anything regardless if we change systems. There's a lot of companies out there that offer a lot more for your money than Panasonic does. Panasonic's always improving their gear too. We're gonna have to look at prices for all of the systems, when the time comes. Get quotes from them all and see where we end up. But
Great.
that's a little ways off.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Can I steal this mic for just like another minute off budget?
100%.
I just wanted to let the board know I'm gonna pop my phone up so I don't get any of the information wrong. 2 of our guys are being recognized by various groups in the area. One is Mike Ravicki, our K9 SWAT guy. And let's get to my. Here we are. He's being recognized by the city of Middletown for a SWAT call they had on July 16th last year, where there was an intoxicated male with a firearm. He was a military guy. He was due to get deployed. And they were able to resolve the issue safely, no one injured, and everything worked out fantastic. So he's going to receive an award for that, him and his team, next month by the city of Middletown. And then the other one is Officer Scranton is receiving an award by the Women and Family Center to honor those who contribute to sexual violence victims advocacy. And that's for the work he's done on a couple sexual assaults that have come his way already. He's put a lot of time. Granted, everything we do is really team effort, but he went above and beyond what he really needed to do to assist these victims and make sure that they were safe and secure, and they felt like the department was doing what we needed to do to get an arrest. And it worked out. So he's due to get to receive an award next month as well. So 2 really good guys. Lucky to have them.
Well, they've got great leadership, so.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief Waiter.
How you doing? Rob Puida, Fire Chief.
So I guess if you can just kind of give an overview of the department and anything that we need to know this last year and going forward.
So the department's doing well. We've actually picked up, tend to generate a lot of activity with the younger crowd, the explorers. Right now, we've got quite a big handful of them. And our hopes is that they'll stick with us once school's out and become full-fledged firefighters. But the department as a whole is doing well. Our budget's reflecting that. I spent some time on this, and we're really just trying to exactly hold the budget that we had last year without too much increases. It's hard being in the emergency services, everything that you ask for is almost a necessity, it seems like, it's hard to budget things that are mandated or necessities. So we have a strong budget going forward and we like to kind of keep it where it's at. Not too many issues. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to talk about, we do have a new fire truck coming. Fire Marshal Ray, he's on the committee for that. That should be here within a few weeks in Connecticut. And then it's just going to be finished getting outfitted. And then we should see it within a month or so in Portland, probably.
That's great. So one of the things that's in the budget this year is we've added stipends to the I guess 9 lieutenants and 3 of the captains as a way to not only honor what they did. I know last year we did a change to the members and bump that up, but I thought that was something that was appropriate for what they do and the volunteer work that they do. So
I can speak on that briefly. I can't thank you enough for the little boost that you're able to give the department. The stipend that we receive is just a small monetary amount for the work that these individuals volunteer their time and energy, and often are put in chaotic, hectic, dangerous situations. And it's a nice little thank you from the town. So we do appreciate that. For this year and last year's budget, I kind of been pushing for my line officers to receive a little extra stipend, I guess you would say. On top of being a volunteer, they're required to do more than an average member. So just out of the blue, you're required to do a duty night, 12-hour shift per week is something that you're required to do as a line officer. We have 3 fire stations in town and they're each run by a captain. So a captain oversees an entire firehouse, all the apparatus in the firehouse and all of its members within that firehouse. The lieutenants are the ones that are in charge of the firefighters within their firehouse and will run scenes, whenever we have them. So there's a lot that's expected of the leadership of the department. And so I was just kind of pushing towards a little extra incentive for them. We can't afford to lose what we have. We can't afford to lose the members that we have because without them, we don't have a department that volunteers. So appreciate you guys really looking hard at that and pushing it our way. That'd be very appreciated.
I think most people in town know that you and your volunteers do a great deal, but it's in the news every week or two, something else. I mean, the rescue recently on the Connecticut River.
Yeah.
And the capability you have to be able to handle that and do something. So
yeah, it's unique, the police and the fire. Anything can happen at a moment's notice, and with us not being paid or on staff to drop whatever it is that we're doing at that particular moment to run to an emergency to try and save a life or aid someone or provide relief. There's a lot to be said about that. And we did have a very good experience. That was a positive outcome recently where there was a kayaker that had gotten distress on the river. The kayak capsized and he was able to, with the grace of God, find a log or a tree that was actually stationary in the water, and the current brought him to that, and he was clinging to that, waiting to be rescued. So our guys jumped in action and were able to get out there and scoop him up and bring him back to safety. So
we truly appreciate what you guys do.
not a problem. Any other questions on the budget or?
I got for you and Ray, because you're both here. And
Sure.
It's not really this budget, but maybe a future budget.
Yeah. You want to go?
Do you see any major repairs? Because I know we talked about keeping engine 2 as the old engine 2 as a spare. Is there anything big that'll need to keep it around for a while?
So we're still trying to figure out the best course of actions, right? So I can read between the lines. If we do keep another truck, what does that mean? Maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep it as if it were able to respond almost. So there's a lot of testing that would have to be continued, pump testing, hose testing, ladder testing. The basic things we do annually for all the other trucks would have to be done for that as well. And with thanks to Bob and Ray, where our fleet is very much newer now than it has been in years past. So the committee and the board members have approved, and we've gotten a very good fleet right now. So some of the big major problems that we've experienced in the past, that's not going to be the case. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the older trucks aren't around anymore. So we're hoping that repairs will be minimal.
What's your plan for the ladder? Because I know it's getting near its 20 years.
Yeah, so Ray can come up. We actually have a small committee that's working on a refurbishment plan. Okay, so if we were to purchase a ladder today, you're looking at, we'll just say $2 million, give or take a couple $100,000, right? So our ladder is nearing 20 years old. Huge mile mark for any fire truck, a ladder truck. At that point, it's critical to make a decision if it's able to be refurbished or need of replacement. There's a lot of talk about the need for a bigger ladder truck in town, that is. And myself and the committee, our ladder truck serves us very well for what we do. The fires that we respond to are normal residential houses. The terrain that we have in town, the country, it fits well, it works well. We have a plan in place. We've got, it went out for evaluation and we're looking at doing a refurb. So what does that mean? Basically, for a few $100,000, they go through, take a look at the truck, repair anything that would be in need of repair. And essentially you can get a sign off basically saying that it's good for another 15 to 18 years instead of purchasing a new one. So that's kind of the route that we're looking at. We are just waiting for a report back from Pierce, the manufacturer. We have our dealer here in Connecticut, Firematic, that we sent it out to get an eval done. I don't know, Ray, do you want to speak on that at all?
So yeah, a couple weeks ago, we met with, well, we got stood up, but anyways, long and short, we evaluated the truck ourselves. And then coincidentally that same day, I got a call from, we were supposed to meet the owner of the dealership and he never showed up. But one of his service managers called me coincidentally because I had been in contact with someone else. So the long and short was that we had scheduled, after looking at it ourselves, we've got a punch list. And the following Monday, they took it up to Rocky Hill for a day to evaluate it. So they'll do the eyes on with it here. And then they have a refurbishment facility in, I think, Leroy, New York. So what's happening now is that it's in the process of taking what they found here and put together a parts list, pricing, and everything else to get back with a number. So we'll have that for next year. Because obviously it's not going to happen this year. But the initial report is it's in good shape. I was more concerned about maybe some of the undercarriage stuff, and that's why we've been really pressing some way of either fluid film or crowl, something to start taking care of the vehicles. I talked to Bobby about it, working with Jason on it. That money is money well spent, so we're not going to have to keep coming back every 15 years to replace a $1 million fire truck, right? Let's spend the 5,000-10,000 to get the fleet undercoated annually, whether it's through Jason or we got to take it to a contractor because they're out there as well. But anyways, that report came back really good. They're gonna add paint to it as well, which just so we can have the whole number. But our opinion is probably, and that's a big number, paint today. A normal engine's probably 30,000 to paint. The ladder would probably somewhere upwards of 70 to 80,000. So we think the body's in good shape where it probably wouldn't need paint. The undercarriage looked pretty good. There's a lot of out of date equipment with regards to operations on there with the ladder, lighting system, hoses, all the hydraulic lines are original. So that's going to be the really big thing. The good news is that it's an aluminum ladder and there's no painting to do with that. Inspection's a lot easier on that. So, we were talking a couple 100,000, but we're hoping that maybe this thing would be like 150, crossing our fingers. But overall, I mean, even interior, everything on the truck is actually still in really good shape. So that's why we're really trying to push this to maybe get done, not at the 20-year mark. It's 18 this year. If we can get it under that number and probably do it next year, which I know there's some money in the budget for capital next year, but it probably would be the ideal thing to do. Because as you know, Nothing's going down, it's everything's going up. So, and the one thing would be is that we'd be looking at a 6 to 10 month window, depending on the severity of the refurb. And I don't want to say refurb, it's really just going to be some cosmetic stuff, but a lot of equipment replacement, with technology stuff and all that. So,
Ray, is that truck gonna be able to accommodate everything we have at Brainerd Place?
our existing ladder?
Yeah.
No, and that's what the chief was getting into that. I mean, we've had people say that to us, and it was brought up at the last zoning meeting. They don't build fire trucks to reach the tallest buildings because they only go 100 and something feet, right? 110 max, whatever, right? So those buildings are obviously protected with sprinklers, fire alarms, building construction. All these features protect it so you can easily exit and safely exit. So we're not gonna. Our opinion is that, like the chief said, there's no reason for us to spend $2 million on a 100-foot ladder truck when 90% of our fires in 2-story residential buildings where we can get a 75-foot ladder truck in the driveway. So we have Middletown Mutual Aid. This building's fully sprinklered. To me, I don't think
what is
it's
our
money
limit?
well spent.
75?
75,
What's Middletown?
100. Yep.
So it's only 25
Yeah.
more.
We don't plan on pulling people out of windows here. I mean, elevated stream standpoint, I mean, it's a sprinkler protected building, so we shouldn't ever see such a devastation. Not to say that it can't be overcome, but from that standpoint, all your people should be out of the building, and that's obviously what we're hoping for, is that, that kind of thing. So we wouldn't, like I said, you go to Middletown, there's going to be buildings there that their ladder truck doesn't, it can't provide service to the highest point. So, that's anywhere you're going to see that. Hartford, Portland. So, but we just think that truck's worked the best for us. And I think it's going to be worth that money, 150 to 2, next year, if we can get those numbers, and we'll obviously be happy to share with them, and, something we can look forward to.
So ultimately, we can double its life expectancy for a few $100,000 instead of.
Yeah, I don't
close
see
to
why
2
we
million.
wouldn't be able to, So we're meeting on top of waiting for these numbers. Thursday, I'm meeting with the committee who just did Newtown, their ladder trucks, 100-foot. It was a 90, it's even older than ours, but they spent 300,000 to 400,000, but it was a full paint job. It's a steel painted aerial. So they did a lot of work on it. Obviously it was older and needed more work. So I'm meeting with them to go over the process, which they're telling me it was 12 to 16 months. But that's from them evaluating it parts. So the part process and everything is timely too. So that's kind of what pushes this out. But their renovation or refurb probably was almost 10 to 12 months. So
Chief, in this budget, do you have the fluid film or undercoating? I know we put it in Public Works for the overtime, but do we have anything in here for material?
No, honestly, no, there's not. We could take it operationally out of my operational line item. I didn't really know where that was going, didn't account for it, but it's something that I wouldn't have a problem trying to fit into this budget if we can go that route.
Okay.
If we're talking about the fire department buying the material and them
Yeah.
performing the labor, then should not be a problem.
Jason, do you have an idea of what it would cost the fire department in material?
Yeah.
Okay.
We buy it in like July and August and cheaper.
Yep. All right. I just want to make sure that that gets on the plan for this year. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, as far as the ladder truck, I think it's a solid plan. I think it's a good financial decision for the town. I wouldn't, if we really needed it, I would push for a new ladder truck. I don't feel that we need a new ladder truck, right? I think that it's aged well. I mean, Pierce is top of the line brand, and when they got it, it was top of the line, and they still hold the market for top of the line, and it's aged very well. So if we can get away with a simple refurb of a few $100,000, maybe to get us 15 more years, I think that's a home run for the taxpayers, for myself, for you guys, for everybody.
John, any questions at your end?
oh, sorry. Don't forget it's here.
Oh, not yet. Unmute?
You're on mute.
He's good, thumbs up.
Oh, you're good. Oh, you're good. Okay.
Okay, there we go. You got me?
Hey, we got you.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I'm happy to hear the plan for the truck. Everybody's been great. The sound has been good. I can hear you all. No, you guys hit on all the high notes. Good to me.
All right, fantastic. Chief, thank you very much. I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's
thank you.
good.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
I didn't bring any of my stuff, though.
No, that's great. So I'm gonna bring Jason up as the last person, just to see if anyone had any more questions for him. It's a big department, kind of newer. There might be some things maybe that weren't covered. And then after that, I think we're done, and we can talk a little more about the next meeting. So. Would you like to? Oh, please, yeah, that'd be great. Yes.
I thought you were saving the best for last.
We are.
As you see, the budget, like, just like the police and the fire, it's pretty straightforward. There's not, minimum amount of increases. A lot of it's salary and healthcare. We didn't ask for any big ticket items as much as we would like to get another, dump truck or more, equipment. We kind of cut that out just to keep it, low. There was some talk about maybe looking at some, used, state surplus vehicles. Gonna go look at some next week just to see what's available and what the prices are, but we really didn't encompass any of that in here. Some of the engineering costs that Tom kind of mentioned, the MS4 requirements, the state is starting to require that we GPS all our storm drainage and map all our bridges and culverts. So that's going to be an additional cost over the next few years. So we're just trying to, instead of come at the budget all at once for that big chunk, just do a little bit at a time so it's not as bad. So that's, why that engineering percentage has gone up so much.
If there was one area that you could add to the budget that you think would save you long-term, and is there an area that maybe we look at, for example, I know Bobby and some others brought up ways to maybe share services in one way or another, either within the town or maybe with other towns. It's been brought up before. I know there's reasons why we haven't done it in some cases because it hasn't been equitable, but if you can kind of touch on that, I think people that maybe are watching may not understand the complication of sharing services with one town to another, but maybe there are some opportunities.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with one area that I wish I had a little bit more money for would be just the cost of our heating and cooling systems. It seems like they all seem to kind of need improvement all at the same time, as town hall, Buck Foreman, some of the firehouses. So we're trying to get that stuff fixed instead of band-aided. One of the line items for the capital improvement was the heating system on the old side of the town garage is original from 1965 or 63. So we want to replace that, make that a little bit more energy efficient. As far as shared services, we have some shared services already that we use. We have some equipment that we share with Cromwell, and Middletown helps us out on a bunch of stuff. It's kind of hard equipment wise because who maintains it? We maintain our stuff to a little bit higher standard than other towns do. So we tend not that we don't like to share. We like to be a 90% holder of the equipment so that we know that it's getting cleaned and maintained. So in that aspect, the other aspects of, I wish there was a way for us in the Board of Ed to pool services as far as, contracting, as far as, maybe heating contracts or oil contracts, but, Tom's right. They get, a little bit special pricing than we do because it's an educational thing. They do help when I'm looking for somebody as far as a contractor or son for maybe some kitchen repair at the, senior center or something oddball that we normally don't use, but the pricing doesn't always carry over. But Bob Shea helps every time, we call. So in that aspect, it's very good.
Any questions?
You might be the one to ask this for the fire department for the generator.
So I took that as portable generators. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know.
The generator.
Oh, it was for the building generator.
Or, yeah. What size is that for the generator? Do you know offhand? Okay. And that's for one fire station? All right, cool.
I know, during the summertime, you guys did some sealing, and worked with equipment or with a material from Bob and.
Yeah, so
No.
at the high school, we did a seal coating right around the roundabout in front of the high school. We're gonna use that same technique and material to seal coat. Hopefully the town garage parking lot to give it a, few more years extra life. To see how that process goes, if that's something that we could be doing on our municipal parking lots to prolong the life of them. We did a kind of little demo where some of the guys came in on a Saturday, volunteered their time to learn how to use the machine, learn how to apply the material. And, moving forward now, we could do that ourselves instead of hiring out contractors, just rent the equipment.
I gotta give a shout out to Bob, because Bob, we were pushing for that for a while to make that happen, so that's great. So,
Yeah, it looked really good.
excellent. I know you guys do a lot with a little, so.
We do. We do.
All right, I think we're good. All right, thank you very much, we
You're welcome.
appreciate it. All right, and last but not least. All right, a wonderful librarian.
So I promise I promise I will be brief, because I'm the
Okay.
last dance on your dance card. So for long range capital, we're requesting an update to the library website. It's about accessibility. There's really specific parameters as far as like contrast of colors between like a font and a background, and having alt text for every single one of your images. So the software that we're using right now doesn't supply any of that, doesn't check if we're compliant with any of that. And so, but in order to do a new software that does it, you have to have somebody build out the website, and then that check for any changes you make to a website is built into it. So, we asked a bunch of other libraries what vendors they were using, and we got a quote from, so that's what this is representative of for one service provider. They're all about the same amount of scary, for me, because my budget usually isn't this big. So any questions about that piece of it? I'll be back for all of the deliberations. So if you come up with something, I'll be here.
We'll come up with something.
I know you will.
Yeah, just so you know, that the town's website is hopefully out of date as far as accessibility. So that
Should be.
for handicap accessible.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
So Selectmen Committee just said that our town website needs to be looked at to be brought up. I don't think people heard you, that's why. So we need to look at that as well. So, good.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Okay.
We-
I'm Jen Billingsley, the library director also. So Michelle Sapaglia doesn't get mad at me that I didn't say my name.
Thank you very, very much. All right. So we're almost done. Good questions, Tom. Thank you very much for walking that through. That was really good. And I appreciate everyone of the managers here coming up and doing an explanation. Part of it is for us, but also part of it is for the residents watching. We've been trying to get more people to participate in these kinds of things, get involved in the town, understand where the money goes. And I think once people understand all the things that are done behind the scenes, it makes it easier to understand why the money's being spent on the things that it is. It also gets them involved in asking questions. So I think that's really good. Any comments from tonight? Everyone satisfied with what they heard? Questions they asked? No issues at all? Okay, good. So tomorrow night we have both a budget workshop scheduled as well as a Board of Selectmen meeting, regular meeting. We always budget an extra meeting after these two meetings in case there's something we didn't cover. So what I'm going to suggest is that the budget portion of tomorrow's meeting we don't need to do, because I think we've covered all the budgets that we've done today in the last meeting, and we just do our regular meeting tomorrow night. So it's on the schedule, and it's always put there as a placeholder. Should we need, now we can still discuss things about the budget in formal time. We can talk about it generally, but next week is where we start the deliberations. So it's what we did last year, a number of the years that I've been involved in the board here, but What is the feeling from everyone on that?
So instead of 6, we just use our normal 7 o'clock.
No,
So
we
there-
still have
there-
the 6 o'clock.
Yeah, we still have a 6 o'clock, a special meeting, but.
That's a special.
Yeah, but at 7 o'clock, we had, both meetings are scheduled for 7 o'clock. And the way it would work is if we have other discussions, if we want to talk about the individual line before we go into deliberations, we would start with those discussions at 7 o'clock. And then we would adjourn and then start our Board of Selectmen meeting. But the last couple of years that we've done this, we haven't needed to go into that third one. But we can. I don't want to make a decision for the board. It is up to our folks here.
You're just confirming that everyththing was presented that's
Yes.
supposed to be,
Yes.
has been presented as
Yes.
of now, the departments and everything that we,
Yeah,
everything.
the purpose of these two meetings is we're covering the budget in full. We've had Tom explain all the way through. We've had the other departments. I've added a little bit extra by having the department heads go up there. We normally haven't done that in the past. I thought it was important that we get as much explanation and get as much information passed around. So that would be normally the plan. And then we keep a third one, the one that would be tomorrow night, as a backup, as a placeholder.
Okay.
So that's, I believe, the intention, having talked to Sue and having spoken to Susan before, her doing this and Ryan, that was always the intention of the meetings, the way it was set up. But it is up to the board, it's to the decision of the board here.
It's set up to be slow and painful.
100%. We've gotten the slow and the painful.
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to speed it up a little bit and get right to our next meeting. And then deliberations next week is where we get to working on the brass tacks and get this.
Go with that. It gives us a chance to review this, in even more detail and
Okay.
kind of get kind of organized for the deliberations process.
And Bob? Okay. Ben, I know you're new.
Raise, things.
All right. You,
I have my ordinance.
we can do that at our first meeting next week. So no, I think that'll be fine. I think that'll be good. All right, with that. I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Vinny, he's too quick, David. 30 seconds. All those in favor? Opposed, abstention, motion